Three, two, one. Good morning. Today, we're going to talk about the ways of condensing text. For this topic in EABP, uh, okay. Good morning and welcome back to another lesson in EAPP. So today, in continuation of our topic of writing academic text, today we're going to learn the ways of condensing text. So what do we mean when we say condensing text? When we say condensing text is basically the act or the practice of making text shorter after they have been read. So these can be done in a number of ways, much as you can see in this video. So let's begin with today's agenda. Of course, we have identify the ways of condensing text. We'll be discussing three of them today. Use various techniques in summarizing, paraphrasing a variety of academic texts, and of course, outline reading text in various disciplines. So today we're going to be identifying the ways of condensing text and teaching you how to summarize, paraphrase, and outline. All right. So first we have summarizing. So here is an example of a text that has been summarized. So we can see here the original text. Ancient masters might not know it, but studying their teachings can increase one's intelligence quotient, pondering over what they said, which have been passed on through their writings, as well as from other sources compiled and scribes compiled by scribes and chronicles could greatly benefit us who are living in today's technically driven society. So this is an excerpt from One Step How to Higher IQ by Jose Antonio Cango. Um, and this is the original text. As you can see, it's quite lengthy or it's quite long with several sentences. But when we go to the summarized version, I'm sorry, that's summarized. In the summarized version, you can see that it is shorter and it is more to the point. Okay, so reflecting on the teachings of the ancient masters, written and compiled by writers help us in the modern world. These two texts are from have the same idea, but in the summarized version, it is considerably shorter or noticeably shorter because when we are summarizing, as we can see here, so, what is summarizing? So, from our example, we can see that it was the summarized version of the text was shorter than the original text. That's because it is a process that involves condensing a text into a shorter form. Okay, summarizing involves getting only the most important parts of the material. That is why it becomes shorter because we delete or we omit those information in the material that we no longer deem to be important or necessary. Um, and of course, a summary is, or a summarized text is normally one third the length of the original text. So, if the original text is say three paragraphs, one third of that length will be only one paragraph. So that's how summarizing works. We condense the text into a shorter form by getting its most important parts. So we do not have to when we are summarizing, we do not have to include the parts that we think or that we decide that are not essential or are not important to the for the reader. So that is summarizing. Next, we have paraphrasing. When we say paraphrasing, okay, so this is an example of a paraphrase text. So we have the original text from earlier, so I'm no longer going to read that. But we also have here the paraphrase text. So, an analysis and study on these teachings of the ancient masters can improve our intellectual aspect. Reflecting on these teachings, which writers compiled, could benefit us in the modern world. Here, in this example, it is considerably longer than a summarized text. In paraphrasing, the length is not as the change in length, as you can see, is not as drastic as it is in the summarized text. So, what do we do in paraphrasing? So, what does paraphrasing mean? So, paraphrasing entails the use of rewording and rephrasing of the original text. When we are rewording and rephrasing, we are uh, essentially translating the text into words and phrases that we understand better or that can be easily understood. It is easier, this is done for clarity, okay, to achieve clarity in the text, because here in the original text, if we can go back, you can see the words pondering, the words intelligence quotient, okay, the word scribes. These can be confusing words for some readers. So to achieve a more clear or a clearer understanding of the text, we will paraphrase it into, or we will reword it, or we will rephrase it into words that are clearer or more understandable for the reader. So we have here, again, it is done to achieve clarity. The paraphrase material is usually the same length as the original text. Okay, when we are paraphrasing, we are no longer omitting or we are no longer deleting unnecessary information. We are simply rewording or rephrasing the words into more understandable or clearer information. That's why it is the same length. So remember, the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing is that summarizing is the same length, meanwhile paraphrasing is the same length, meanwhile, summarizing is one third the length of the uh, original text. Now, the last type of okay, the last type of way of condensing text is um, outlining. So we have here an example of an original text. So it's different from from the others. So let's read it. So the peacock is the national bird of India. They have colorful feathers, two legs, a small beak, and famous for their they are famous for their dance. When a peacock dances, it spreads its feathers like a fan. It has a long, shiny blue neck. Peacocks are mostly found in the fields and are very beautiful birds. The females are known as peahen. Their feathers are used for making jackets, purses, etc. We can see them in a zoo. So here is an outlined version of the original text. So right away you can clearly see that there is a difference between, of course, uh, the appearance of these two texts. The original text is in paragraph form, meanwhile the outline text has bullet forms or is in bullet form. Another example you can see is the sentences or the phrases in the original text are quite long, meanwhile here they have been shortened in some areas. Okay, so this is an example of an outlined text or an outline. So let's first define what is outlining. So outlining is the presence or sorry, outlining is the process. Okay? So tandaan, remember that outlining is the process of organizing information gathered in reading. It's the process. Meanwhile, in outlining we use an outline. The outline itself is a skeletal framework that includes the idea separated by a specific heading and causes or and uses a number system. So we have here, although in this one we are not using a number system, we are using a bullet system. We'll get onto the difference of that later. But here, okay, we have a heading that is the separator, and then we have the information. So this is an outline, and it has gone through the process of outlining. Okay, that is the difference between outline and outlining. Outlining is the process. The outline is the text or the framework itself. Outlining makes it possible for you to arrange the ideas, details, and examples based on importance or chronology. So when we outlining is a great process for you to help you organize your ideas better, especially when you are reading or when you are writing academic texts. So we have types of outline. We have three types of outline. First is the topic outline where we use the specific words and phrases. Now, in topic outline, we are not using full sentences. We are only using for specific words and phrases. If we go back to our example in the first, you see here, it is not. Okay? So these are not outline. These are not topic. This is not a topic outline because it uses full sentences. So a topic outline each bullet or each number will only contain at most four, okay, one to four words because it is only words or phrases. Sentence outlines includes or uses full sentences, as we can see in our example before. Now, those full sentences are better for outlining because they are more detailed and the ideas are clearer to the reader. So I recommend that if you are doing an outline, use a sentence outline. Next, we have the paragraph outline. A paragraph outline is much or very similar to the sentence outline, but here in the paragraph outline, instead of full sentences, you are using full paragraphs. As a teacher, I do not recommend using a paragraph outline because they are quite difficult or quite time consuming to write. So I always stick with the sentence outline, which is a good median or a good middle ground between the paragraph and the topic outline. So that's the three types of outlines. Okay. So, there are two kinds of numbering systems. So, these numbering systems are the traditional and the modern. In the traditional system, as you can see, we can use Roman numerals, we can use letters, we can use numbers. We can also use symbols, like in the outline we saw before. So, in the traditional, we can use any symbol or any marker that we'd like for our outline or our skeletal framework. But in the modern, we strictly use numbers. So 1.1 so 1, if we have anything under number 1, we have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. If we have anything under that, we have 1.3.1, 1.3.2, 1.3.3. And if we have anything under that, it goes on up to um, until essentially we run out of things to put under these categories. So just remember, traditional we can use letters, symbols, and numbers. Here in modern we use strictly numbers. So those are the two kinds of numbering systems. So that is all for today, class. Thank you for listening. If you do have any questions, you may contact me in my email, or you may post them in our Google Classroom page, uh, for in our Google Classroom, or you or the Google Class stream. Sorry about that. So that is all for today, class. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you when I see you.